Musculoskeletal disorder, MSD, represent one of the most common and important health problems in working population. Musculoskeletal pain can be described as pain that affect bones, muscles, ligaments, tendons, and nerves. According to statistics reported by Social Security Organization, MSD is one of the most common occupational diseases in Malaysia. Now, by looking at these pictures between workers and students, can you spot any obvious differences in terms of their posture? No, right? So, is it possible for the students to develop MSD as well? Yes, students also have highly equal risk. In fact, universities are the workplace for students, and students spend most of their time attending classroom session for theories input and at the same time working in front of computer to browse through for resources, which involved prolonged sitting and lacking in physical activity in most of their daily life. These risk factors have become a major public health problem contributing to the prevalence of MSD. Assalamualaikum and good morning, I bid to the respected lecturers and friends. So today we are going to present our study entitled The Association of Musculoskeletal Disorder with Sitting Hours and Level of Physical Activity among Biomedical Science undergraduate students in Faculty of Health Sciences, UKM. Our research question is, what is the association of musculoskeletal disorder with sitting hours and level of physical activity among biomedical science undergraduate students in Faculty of Health Sciences, UKM? Our research hypothesis is there is an association between musculoskeletal disorder with sitting hours and level of physical activity among biomedical science undergraduate students in Faculty of Health Sciences, UKM. Next, our general objective is to determine the association of musculoskeletal disorder with sitting hours and level of physical activity among biomedical science undergraduate students in Faculty of Health Sciences, UKM. Our specific objectives are to determine the number of complaints due to musculoskeletal pain among biomedical science undergraduate students, to determine the sitting hours of the biomedical science undergraduate students, to measure the level of physical activity of the biomedical science undergraduate students, and to determine the association of musculoskeletal disorder with sitting hours and level of physical activity among biomedical science undergraduate students. Next, we proceed with our results and discussion. Table 1 shows the demographic pattern in our study. Total participants involved were 120, with 30 students from each year. Majority of them are female, which includes 79.2% from our total population, while the other 20.8% are male. Age group of our participant is around 19 to 24 years old in order to ensure a homogenized population of students. Malay participants are the majority with 80%. Based on Table 2, highest prevalence of MSD is determined according to body region. The body region with the most frequently reported pain during the last 12 months were neck, 56.7%, lower back, 56.7%, and shoulder, 53.3%. The outcome is similar with Hayes et al. And Shokri et al. Studies, whereby those body parts were reported to be the most common incidents of discomfort among students. Meanwhile, level of physical activity showed highest prevalence of 63.3% for low, 50% for moderate, and 33.3% for vigorous. This is supported by a study by Al-Jilani et al., where they reported that medical students were usually physically inactive. Highest prevalence from 1 to 3 hours of sitting is 33.3%. For 4 to 7 hours, 43.3%, and for more than 8 hours, 53.3%. Nordin, Devinder, and Kang Lun study also revealed similar results, in which students usually sat in the classroom or working in front of computers every day between 6 to 8 hours. Since our study population were not normally distributed, p less than 0.05, non-parametric statistical test is being used. Kruskal-Wallis one-way ANOVA test was used to compare frequency of MSD occurrence, level of physical activity expressed as total metabolic equivalence MET, and sitting hours between participants from year 1, 2, 3, and year 4. There are no statistically significant differences on frequency of MSD between each year with p 0.850. Same goes with sitting hours, as there are no statistically significant difference between each year with p 0.316. But level of physical activity have statistically significant difference between each year with p 0.005. So, we proceed with post hoc pairwise comparison to detect differences between all possible combination of year. Based on the significant difference, we can conclude that year 1 have lower level of physical activity than year 2 with p 0.025 and year 3 with p 0.001, while year 3 have higher level of physical activity than year 4 with p 0.021. This is probably due to junior students are still trying to adapt to the new environment. University is kind of like an open place where the students plan their own schedule, unlike when they were in matriculation where their activity is being arranged by the institution. Meanwhile, year 3 students is the opposite because they are quite active physically. This may be due to their active participation in university's program and sports tournament in a situation where they are already familiar, unlike the juniors. A study by Tom Delians et al. Demonstrated that social lifestyle is one of the determinants of physical activity. Year 3 students who is more comfortable living in university probably have a better social life and adaptation than year 1 who is still trying to adjust themselves into the new environment. To determine the association between presence of MSD in age, body part with level of physical activity and sitting hours, Spearman correlation and chi-square test of contingencies were used as shown in Table 3. Spearman's rule indicate the presence of weak positive correlation only between level of physical activity and presence of upper back pain with R value 0.284 and P 0.002. A study towards Turkish university students demonstrated that the upper back areas are mostly affected due to daily computer usage. Incorrect sitting posture contributes majorly towards the presence of MSD around that area. While there are no correlation between level of physical activity with presence of MSD in other body parts, there are also no significant correlation between sitting hours and presence of MSD. Chi-square test of contingencies was used to evaluate whether level of physical activity and sitting hours are related to the presence of MSD. Based on the analysis, there is a statistically significant association on level of physical activity with upper back pain with P 0.004 and hip or thigh pain with P 0.038. While other body parts have no statistically significant association with level of physical activity. In a 2009 survey done by Lorusso et al., they found high prevalence of musculoskeletal symptoms among university students that use computers for long periods on a daily basis. Kanya et al. Study also stated that computer users have sedentary behavior and low physical activity. Students use their computer to study and do their assignments until they abandon the need to be active. Both studies agreed that people who had low physical activity had a high risk for developing MSD. Meanwhile, there are no association between sitting hours and presence of MSD. As conclusion, there is an association between level of physical activity with presence of MSD in certain parts of the body. This study shows that students with low level of physical activity are more likely to develop upper back and hip or thigh pain. This may be due to prolonged hours of computer usage. Meanwhile, there are no association between sitting hours and presence of MSD in students. Thank you.